Before she was a monster, she was a marvel. The name Medusa conjures images of a fearsome gorgon with serpents for hair, whose gaze turns men to stone. But this terrifying figure wasn't born a monster. Her story begins not with horror, but with breathtaking beauty and unwavering devotion. In ancient Greece, there lived a young woman named Medusa, whose loveliness was said to rival even that of the gods. Her hair, a cascade of gold, shimmered like the sun, and her eyes held a depth that captivated all who met her. But Medusa's heart belonged to one deity alone, Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. She dedicated her life to serving as a priestess in Athena's magnificent temple in Athens, a sacred duty she cherished above all else. People traveled from far and wide, not just to worship the goddess, but also to catch a glimpse of the beautiful mortal who served her so faithfully. In this hallowed space, Medusa lived a life of piety and peace, her beauty a reflection of her pure spirit, completely unaware of the tragic fate that awaited her. The sanctity of Athena's temple was absolute, a space of purity and worship. But this sacred peace was about to be shattered by the will of a powerful god. Poseidon, the mighty ruler of the seas, a god known for his tempestuous nature and relentless desires, laid his eyes upon Medusa. Consumed by lust, he disregarded the sanctity of the temple and the vows of the priestess within. He found Medusa there, in the very heart of Athena's sanctuary, and in an act of brutal violation, he desecrated the holy ground. When Athena discovered what had transpired, her rage was boundless. But her fury was not directed at the powerful Poseidon, her rival and fellow Olympian. Instead, she turned her wrath upon the victim, the mortal Medusa. In Athena's eyes, the temple had been defiled, and it was Medusa, her own priestess, who would bear the full weight of her divine punishment. The goddess's curse was swift and terrible. She transformed Medusa's glorious golden hair, the very symbol of her beauty, into a writhing nest of venomous snakes. Her once captivating eyes were cursed with a deadly power. A single glance would now turn any living creature to solid stone. Medusa, the devoted priestess, was no more. In her place stood a gorgon, a monster created by divine injustice, exiled to a remote island to live in solitude and despair, her name forever to be whispered in fear. Years passed, and the legend of Medusa the gorgon grew. She became a test for heroes, a nightmare whispered to frightened children. Her lonely island was a place of death, littered with the stone statues of would-be champions who had dared to face her. It was into this legend that a young hero, Perseus, was thrust. King Pylades, who desired Perseus's mother, Danae, sent him on an impossible quest to bring back the head of Medusa, fully expecting him to fail and perish. But Perseus was not just any mortal, he was a son of Zeus, and he had divine allies. Athena, the very goddess who had cursed Medusa, now aided her destroyer. She provided Perseus with a highly polished bronze shield, reflective as a mirror. Hermes gave him a pair of winged sandals to fly to the Gorgon's lair and an adamantine sword sharp enough to sever the monstrous neck. Guided by the gods, Perseus journeyed to the edge of the world, to the desolate island where Medusa and her two immortal sisters, the other Gorgons, resided. He found their cave, a grim gallery of stone warriors and petrified beasts. The air was thick with a dreadful silence, broken only by the faint, chilling hiss of snakes. Perseus knew he could not look at Medusa directly. Using Athena's shield as his guide, he navigated the lair by observing her reflection. He saw her there, not as a charging monster, but asleep, a grotesque and tragic figure, her snake hair stirring restlessly. The moment was tense, his heart pounding in his chest. With every step guided by the mirrored image, he approached the sleeping Gorgon. Raising the divine sword high, he brought it down in one swift, decisive motion. The end of Medusa's life was as mythic as its beginning. In the instant of her death, something miraculous occurred. From the blood that spilled from her severed neck, to legendary beings sprang into existence. First came Chrysaor, a giant warrior wielding a golden sword. And then, soaring from the ground on magnificent white wings, was Pegasus, the immortal winged horse, a symbol of poetry and inspiration. Perseus, his grim task complete, carefully placed Medusa's head into a special satchel. The Cabeces, as even in death, its petrifying power remained. He used her head as a weapon on his journey home, turning his enemies, including King Pylades, to stone, and saving the beautiful Andromeda from a sea monster. But the head's final resting place was with its creator. Perseus presented the head to Athena as a tribute. The goddess, in a final act of appropriation, placed the fearsome visage of Medusa upon her own shield. The aegis, the face that was once a symbol of beauty, then of monstrous terror, now became an emblem of Athena's power, a protective ward to terrify her enemies in battle. So, what is the eternal legacy of Medusa? Is she simply a monster from a hero's tale? Or is she something more? Her story has echoed through millennia, reinterpreted by every generation. For some, she is a potent symbol of female rage, a figure of righteous fury against a world that wronged her. For others, she is the ultimate victim, a cautionary tale of beauty that incites jealousy and lust, punished for the sins of others. She represents the tragic consequences of divine cruelty and the profound injustice of a system where the powerful are absolved and the vulnerable are blamed. Her transformation from a devout priestess into a feared monster forces us to question our definitions of good and evil, beauty and monstrosity. Medusa's head on Athena's shield is a paradox, a symbol of protection born from an act of terrible violence. Her story endures because it is complex, uncomfortable, and deeply human, despite its divine origins. She remains a powerful figure, a reflection of our own struggles with power, injustice, and the enduring question of who gets to write history, and who gets turned into a monster. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the myth of Medusa. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the rich world of mythology. Let me know in the comments which mythological figure you'd like to explore next. See you in the next video.